So we all know that there are a few different types of folders that are on the market. When they are designed by people, you typically get a few different options depending on what they offer you. You can get the full custom version of a knife. You can get a mid-tech version of the knife. And, you know, at times they will even go so far as to reach out for, you know, with a larger company and provide a production version of the knife. Now, in this particular case, Brad Zinker, who is a Florida native and an avid knife designer, he's worked with a lot of different companies. He has his own particular line of customs, and he has joined up with MassDrop and We Knife Company to produce this guy, which is based on his custom. This is the MassDrop and Brad Zinker Dogtooth Framelock knife. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and talk about this a little bit, and stick around for after that intro, and we'll go ahead and talk about the good, the bad, and possibly this knife being better than the custom. Guys, now with the obvious out of the way, this is the Brad Zinker Dogtooth in collaboration with MassDrop, produced by We Knife Company. If you haven't noticed by now, We Knife Company does a lot of OEM work for not only MassDrop, but for a lot of people who are looking to produce, mass produce, or even provide small sprint runs of their folder designs. They have fantastic fit and finish, and this here is no exception. So as I mentioned before, this is the MassDrop Dogtooth. Now on the box itself, okay, from MassDrop, okay, it shows the liner lock version, but it obviously states it's the MassDrop and Brad Zinker Dogtooth Framelock knife. Now, it's kind of interesting because this is an odd style knife, but before I go into it, I'm going to go ahead and read what it says in the back. Now, it says, featuring an S35VN wharncliffe blade, a skeletonized titanium handle, and a deep carry clip, the Dogtooth goes virtually unnoticed in a pocket, but it's ready for any daily task that you throw at it. All right, so we'll start with this. Now, let me get this out of the way. This is actually how it comes when you take it out of the box, which, by the way, they do have serials. This is the box itself. You open the box and it gives you this pouch. You open the pouch and it gives you a nice little cleaning cloth with the initials for BZ for Beta Zeta, or Brad Zinker, depending if you're into fraternities and sororities, or if you know who Brad Zinker is. In this case, it is Brad, and I like his maker's mark. I think it's really classy. You can actually see it on the sat flat of the blade right there. Okay, and on the other side, if you look, you can see the MassDrop label, which, interestingly enough, this particular knife was produced before MassDrop changed their name to Drop. So keep that in mind. Now, let me go ahead and put this here to the side and stick the knife right here. Actually, let me put this on the other side just so you can kind of see what it looks like from here. Now, this isn't too large of a circumference, and that being said, let's start with a few comparisons between this knife and some others in similar size, and maybe some other popular designs that you guys may know about. Okay, so let me just go ahead and line this up here. All right, yeah, that seems like it's good. Okay, so we'll start with this guy right here. This is the KIZER GEMINI Array Laconical Design. Interestingly enough, this is a custom design that was put into full production by KIZER, so pretty similar in that aspect. Okay, and as you can see, they are about the same size. The Zinker is slightly longer. Let me see if I can line up the pivots here. There we go. And let's see here. What else do we have? What else do we have? Ah, here we go. This is the SPYDERCO Para 3. standard G10 S30V steel. Let me line up the pivots there. Okay, and as you can see, it's a little bit longer in the handle, but a little bit shorter in the blade length. Okay, take that away. You have the Tangram Santa Fe. This is part of KIZER's Tangram line. This is their budget line of knives. Let me line up the pivots there. It is slightly larger at the blade and slightly longer in the handle. We have the BENCHMADE Mini Griptilian. This is an EDC staple with the axis lock, and you have a slightly smaller handle, slightly smaller blade shape. This is the Wharncliffe, well, sheepskin, excuse me, this is the Wharncliffe. Okay, now, aside from that, let me just do one more, and yeah, I'll go ahead and show this guy off. This is the KERSHAW USA budget line. This is the link in a black washed 420 high carbon steel, and let's see here. Yeah, that's about right. Okay, it's a slightly longer in the frame and slightly longer in the blade length. Okay, so now we got that out of the way. Let's start with a couple of details for this knife, which is deceptively small. Because, you know, on the video you see it, and then, you know, in pictures and stuff you see it, and it looks one way, and it's actually, you know, quite a bit smaller. And I do want to add, this is the option that came about with the blue handles, and as you can see, it's kind of like a matte finish to it, and it's not so much like an electric blue. This is actually more of kind of like a navy color, and doesn't really stick out too much. I kind of like that, but this matte, it helps with the grippiness, but I'm not really the biggest fan on it because, I mean, you cough on it and it's gonna show a scratch. It's ridiculous. So now the blade and the deep carry pocket clip, which, by the way, this style of pocket clip is part of the, I guess, the Brad Zinker kind of thing. You see this style and this shape, you know, in the way that it looks, this kind of design element in the pocket clip on a lot of his models, including the custom, the Brad Zinker Wharncliffe, by the way. And it is also satined out. I'm sorry, excuse me, yeah. Satined down, including the blade, not only the flats, but the grinds as well. And if you can see right here towards the base of the blade, that's what you refer to as a double bevel. Okay, it actually is thin here, and then there is an additional bevel right here where it gets a little bit thicker. Yeah, this is actually one of the first knives that I've had that actually has this. It's very unique, and it makes for a very, very slicey tip here towards the front. I mean, it's a very sharp piercing tip. As you can see, you have the Wharncliffe, which is an excellent you know, precision style blade, and you have the compound grind on that, which you know, it basically allows you to have a great piercing ability plus some serious strength for those actions that you need to go ahead and you know, get some extra width behind the blade to go ahead and provide some cutability, if that's even a word, for tasks that you need to finish. So, like I said before, there are a few things that are available, you know, when you order this knife from MassDrop, which I believe it is still available. Now, well, I'll call it drop. Now, this version is the Framelock with these portals. Okay, these portals are very similar to that of the skeletonized titanium custom that Brad Zinker provides. But yeah, there's quite a few more. And typically the way that it looks is you'll have a circle, and then you'll have two small dots under, then you'll have another circle, two dots, circle, two dots. These will not be there, and that's typically how the custom looks. Now, other than that, there's a lot of similarities here. I mean, obviously the coloring is different. You don't exactly get that. And then, you know, the pivot screw has, you know, some dots that are actually machined in and, you know, really serve no more purpose but just for like decoration. And yeah, so this is the way that MassDrop had had the design produced by We Knives, but obviously the the key design elements were provided by Brad Zinker. So let's go into some of the pros and some of the things that I like. Okay, number one, the blade shape. All right, now those people who hate knives that do not sharpen well, okay, they are going to love this knife. Okay, this is very easy to go ahead and sharpen and to strop. I mean, this is fantastic. This, if it has the right heat treatment, and I haven't sent it out to be tested, I know that's the huge thing now. The Wharncliffe style, it makes for a very, very sharp, keen edge. If you go ahead and you run it through a strop the right way, you get some good compounds. You go ahead and throw it on this bastard, and this baby is a lightsaber. Okay, I really like that. It's very easy to sharpen and it's very easy to strop. Okay, you do get a custom look on this knife, okay, with a Framelock, which that, by the way, has been expertly designed. I mean, even the clip actually doesn't provide any resistance when you're going to go ahead and flick this knife open, which, by the way, the action is fantastic. You have a great steel choice on this particular knife. You have CPM S35 VN stainless steel. Okay, the handle itself is 6AL4V titanium frame lock with a hardened steel lock bar insert that is screwed in, and it is Loctited. And I know that they use blue Loctite because if you look closely right there, you can see the blue Loctite. So it's nice to know that they are not using red Loctite like a certain company out there, which will not be mentioned. I'm just messing with you guys. Pretty sure that they don't use it anymore, and they did a whole PSA about that. So anyways, the blade thickness on this is 0.12 inches, and that's actually pretty thin behind the edge. It makes for a nice slicey blade. The blade length on this is 3.3 inches, and the closed length, which meaning the frame length, obviously once this is closed, is actually a little bit over 4 inches. It's 4.05 inches, making the overall length 7.3 inches. Now the weight on this is extremely light, considering the fact that not only is it titanium, it's actually, the dimensions are pretty small, and for Christ's sake, they made a lot of relief holes here to go ahead and I mean, shed the pounds. So you're looking at 2.2 ounces on this guy. Okay, and I mean, it's got a fantastic action. Being that it's a frame lock, it's surprisingly, very easy to disassemble, and the deep carry clip works extremely well in the pocket. And if you notice right here, those screws are flush. Yep, that's right. Nice attention paid to detail. And aside from this version, there are a bunch of different versions that you can actually pick up from the Drop, formerly known as MassDrop, website. Now you can actually get this, in blue, in black. You can do a black on black. You can get stonewash. I mean, there's a bunch of different versions of this knife, and the knife finishes that you can actually pick up on the Drop website. Okay, so that being said, I may have said it before, but I'll go ahead and say it again. The action on this is very good, and I haven't put any, lubricant or oil or anything like that. I do have some KPL I can throw on here, but the truth is I really don't need to, because this guy runs on ceramic bearings, and the detent on this is just right. I mean, it works extremely well, and as you can see, pretty drop shutty. I mean, I just released the frame lock, and it, you disengage it and it comes right down. I actually have it down to a science to where I just put enough space between the blade and my finger to where when it falls, it hits my my nail, so that way it doesn't slice open my fingers, which, by the way, let me go ahead and clean that off, say it, don't spray it. Okay, so we got the good down, right? Now, let's talk about the bad. All right, so these are issues that may not fall well with some people. I don't know. Maybe it's just, me, maybe it's just a small amount of the community, because I know that these things are selling really well with Drop. So, yeah, the compound grind, may not actually fall well with some people. I'm kind of on the fence. I've spoken to my buddy Eduardo over at MIA Blade Works, and the issue with the compound grind, especially when you're using like guided sharpeners, stuff like that, where you're actually working on reprofiling the blade, or getting the exact profile, like the bevels and stuff, to match while you are sharpening it, is that this portion is going to have a certain degree, and then you're going to have to adjust for just this portion right here. Now the good thing is, the choil that's on this is out far enough to where when you're sharpening, you're not going to have any issues with it rubbing against something here or rubbing against here, like for those people that use the KME like me. But there is going to be that issue from here to here, where the degree that you set your sharpener to is going to be different for the rest of the knife. Now, interestingly enough, the way that the custom was done, and the way Brad Zinker did his version of the Wharncliffe flipper that this design is based on, actually has the compound grind towards the front. So you have basically this part is standard till pretty much probably around here, and then you get the compound grind that extends from here to basically the tip. Now, you might not want to put too much pressure on the lock bar. But people that know about frame locks know about this, because obviously, you put your hand here and it becomes a lot more difficult to flip. So just, be mindful of that. That is something I just want to go ahead and mention. And one other thing, sorry lefties, but I don't know if you noticed, this is not tipped. This is not tapped for left-hand carry. It's only for right-hand carry, which is fine. Left-handed people got to learn one of these days that, they can't have everything. So that's just so you know. And as with most Wharncliffe blades, and with blades that have very, very, very thin tips, looking at you SPYDERCO Para 3 and looking at you TANGRAM Santa Fe, but more so with this guy, the tip is very fine and it could break with pressure. So do understand that this is a knife that, while it has a fantastic steel, it's a frame lock and it's meant for, everyday carry. Be very wary of the kind of use that you are going to go ahead and use this for. I've never really had to utilize the customer service and warranty from MassDrop, but I do understand that there is a gray area when it reaches the secondary market. So if you purchase this directly from them and there's an issue, and you send it, if you've ever had an issue like that, please let me know. Send me a message, dailycarrysolutions@gmail.com, or reach out to my website and send me a message at dailycarrysolutions.com, and I would really like to know how that went for you. Now, personally, We Knife Company isn't going to go ahead and warranty this, because this is something that they produced on behalf of Drop, or the company formerly known as MassDrop. So it's kind of a gray area, and that may be a deterring issue for some people. So I wanted to go ahead and bring that up. Now, there is something that I brought up at the beginning in the intro of the video, and that is, when does a knife design that is put into production hold so much value that, based on the aesthetics, the blade materials, and just the overall package itself, and the way that it's designed? Because, let's face it, We Knife Company did a very, very nice homage to the Brad Zinker Wharncliffe flipper knife that he had done, that's skeletonized. Much better than Boker has ever done any of their Urban Trapper series or any of the other knives from Brad Zinker. But that's neither here nor there, and that's my opinion. They're like assholes. Everybody's got one. They all stink. So, when does it turn to the point where maybe the production model is better than the custom model? Well, the truth is, I'm going to go ahead and say this outright. I personally think that this is better than the custom model. Now, there are people like, oh my gosh, but it's a custom and it's been, handmade, and it's made in the USA instead of China. It's got better materials. Yeah, look, let's be honest. The fact is, MassDrop reached out to We Knife Company for a lot of their production. And there's a lot of US designers, Brad Zinker included. Yes, that's right, Mr. BC himself. You know, they gave the seal of approval to go ahead and do this particular knife, because not everybody's going to fork over $600 for one of his skeletonized Wharncliffe flipper blade knives. Now, there are a few differences between this and his custom, and I do want to bring that up. Now, I did mention that the steel is S35V on this one. On his custom, you are going to see CPM 154 steel. Okay, now that it's actually a really good steel, but S35VN is actually a more common steel that you find for upper class knives and knives of very good quality. CPM 154 is also very good, but you don't see it garner as much respect as S35VN. However, the steel really doesn't play too much into the performance of the knife so much as the heat treatment of the steel. So I don't know how Brad provides the HRC numbers on his particular knife, and I don't know the HRC number on this one. Like I said, I haven't had it tested, so that's something to consider. Okay. Also, the overall length of the custom is 7.625 inches. It has a 3.5 inch blade, and the cutting edge itself is 3 1/8, I believe. Yeah, and the thickness of the blade itself is slightly thinner than this. This is a 0.12, and the custom is a 0.10. So it's a nice slicer. The handle length on the custom is a little over 4 inches. It's 4 1/8. And you're looking at 2.2 ounces on this version as opposed to the custom, which is 1.79 ounces. So, there are a couple differences. Obviously, Brad Zinker makes the knives himself for the custom, and it's made here in the US of A, where freedom rings as opposed to China. And yeah, that's basically it. So, I mean, in a nutshell, this is a very nice knife. I think that, you will be served well if you, pick this knife up, whether it is the Framelock or the liner lock version. Personally, now that I have held this, it's excellent if you choose to EDC a nice thin knife. This would be an excellent office EDC, nice thin clip with, a nice thin profile. I believe that the thickness on these handles are less than 1/2 inch, or at least, at about 1/2 inch. And just to kind of give you, some type of gauge, this is the KERSHAW link. This is the scale, well, the thickness of the KIZER GEMINI. You have, let's see here, and this is the SPYDERCO Para 3. Okay, so if you have not picked one of these up and you are on the fence, depending on what you are using it for, I would say go for it. If you feel that you want a Brad Zinker design, but you don't exactly have the coin, grabbing one of these is not exactly faking it. You're still getting really, really good quality blade production from We Knife Company on behalf of MassDrop, or the company formerly known as MassDrop, now known as just Drop. And yeah, S35VN steel, nice satin blade. You can get it in different finishes. And I'm pretty sure that this is costing, what I believe is the time of this video, what, $130? That's pretty nice for this kind of a blade. I mean, this is really good quality stuff. And personally, nothing against Brad Zinker, but I think that I would pick this up before I would pick up one of his customs. I'd love to own one of his customs, but I mean, let's be honest, I'd feel a little bit more confident in picking one of these up and actually using it as opposed to one of his customs that's like $600. Call me crazy, but it is what it is. So that is my review on the Brad Zinker and MassDrop collaboration. This is the Dogtooth Framelock knife, as provided by Drop, or the company formerly known as MassDrop. Okay, so thank you so much for watching this, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, go ahead and click subscribe if you haven't already done so, and click that bell next to it so that you are notified once my new EDC videos are up. If you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and reach out to me. Again, my email is dailycarrysolutions@gmail.com, and my Instagram is @dailycarrysolutions. You can feel free to reach out to me in either way. And just remember, guys, if you EDC, think of DCS. Thanks so much for watching. I hope to see you again next time. In the meantime, take care.